guys, I want to give a quick shout out to Long Island's very own Time to BS with Daniel Smooth. He talks sports, music, movies, wrestling, and more. Make sure you listen to his show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and live streams are available on YouTube. This guy is an amazing personality. He has a great show each and every single week, guys. So definitely make sure to check him out, along with all the other fine Belly Up Sports members. What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the Call of Duty League with updated CDL point standings, online qualifiers, Major 2 tournament breakdown, what matches to look out for this weekend. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of Atlanta Falcons news to cover. Terry Feont talking about the quarterback situation, to Zac Robinson about getting the top priority playmakers the ball during this coming football season. So without any further delay, let's go straight into today's action.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan. Here on the Morgan Man Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff stands, wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. Alright guys, so we are talking about the Call of Duty League Major 2 online qualifiers happening this weekend right here, February 23rd through the 25th. So your matches consist of the New York Subliners taking on the Boston Breach, Friday, February 23rd. Also on the 23rd, you got the Minnesota Rocker taking on Optic Texas, and the Miami Heretics taking on the Vegas Legion. Saturday, February 24th, you have matches consisting of the Vegas Legion taking on the Toronto Ultra, LAG taking on Optic Texas, and Miami Heretics taking on the Los Angeles Thieves. And then finally, Sunday, February 25th, you got the Seattle Surge taking on the Carolina Royal Ravens, Minnesota Rocker taking on the Boston Breach, and finally, in the main event, Atlanta FaZe taking on the New York Subliners. And for your current CDL point standings, you got the Toronto Ultra sitting at first place still with 180 points. The Atlanta FaZe sitting at 155 CDL points. Optic Texas sitting at 110. New York Subliners sitting at 80. Rocker at 75. Surge at 60. Heretics at 50. And the Los Angeles Guerrillas sitting at 50. And that is your top 8. Your playoff qualification cutoff, if the playoffs started today, would start off with the Vegas Legion sitting at 35. Boston Breach sitting at 30, Carolina Royal Ravens sitting at 25, and the Los Angeles Thieves sitting at 20. So guys, looking at this weekend right here, there's a lot of matches that is playoff worthy, actually, and going to be a determining factor of who's going to be in that winner's bracket for the Major 2 tournament. And of course, to start off with, the Atlanta FaZe is my very first matchup to look at for, because that is your top 5 matchup right there. Number 4 against number 2. Now, obviously, I already know the Atlanta FaZe is the better team this year than the New York Subliners because they traded away Priesta and all them. Definitely, it is a downgrade for the New York Subliners, and the Atlanta FaZe did upgrade with Draza at hand, and they are coming off a very sweet victory over the Miami Heretics this past weekend, 3-1. And I will say now, the Miami Heretics did expose the Atlanta FaZe a little bit in that hard point. They showed a lot of weaknesses, the Atlanta FaZe did. and could not gain the lead whatsoever against the Heretics. Now, of course, they did bounce back in that very second hard point whenever it was going to Mat 4. But still, though, Atlanta FaZe, they're not a hard point team. They are a control and an S&D team, but that is it. And Toronto Ultra, I think, has really exposed them, and now you're seeing it with the Miami Heretics and soon to be other teams that are going to expose the Atlanta FaZe and totally decimate them in the hard points. And if you're Atlanta FaZe, you gotta work on all of that stuff. And what I keep saying each and every single week is get in that hard point. Don't wait on your backup. Start capturing some points. And totally win your one-on-one gunfights. Because I noticed that even in the hard points, you're losing your gunfights. You're losing your control. You're losing the momentum you've been building up. So if you just sit back, relax in the hard point and focus on your one-on-ones, you're going to control the hard point, but you got to get in there first. Again, stop waiting on the backup to arrive. If you're a BZ and you're just one gunning it right now, just hop on the hard point. There's no sense in waiting for Simp or Celium or Draza to come and back you up. It should be one person there, and then if the whole team is there, they should all capture the points. That way the point adds up quicker. But no, the Atlanta FaZe sticks to just wait until everybody kills off, and then one person hops on, and then boom, they're dead. And then the other team, like Miami Heretics, they take advantage of that and they rack up the points. If Atlanta FaZe would just fix that simple problem, they would be the most dominant hardpoint team, I think, to this day. Go back to MW 2019, the inaugural season of the Call of Duty League. They did that in hardpoints. Simp, Celium, and Abizi, they controlled the hardpoints. And they won a lot of series by controlling the hardpoint. So they got to go back to the roots, start hopping on it, and, win their one-on-ones. And I believe they would be the most dominant hardpoint team out there today. And I'm not sitting here saying it's said easier or said done easier or whatever, however the saying goes. Because you got the Toronto Ultra, who was also just 2-1. Or 12-1, excuse me. And the only 2 losses from Atlanta FaZe is from the Toronto Ultra. So they definitely need to take a little bit out of their playbook and start manipulating that into theirs. So James Crowder, if you hear me, look at the hardpoint tape. It's not going to lie. So that's your first matchup, to look out forward to this weekend in that main event, Sunday, February 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. The next matchup, honestly, guys, it has to be the Heretics versus the Legion. So Legion is coming off a hot win over LEG 3-1, and the Miami Heretics are coming off some devastating losses against the Atlanta FaZe, and I want to believe it was the Optic Texas squad all this past weekend, so they definitely need a rebound series. And the Heretics are sitting at 7th right now, while the Legion is coming in a little hot right now, sitting at 3-7 wins. 3 wins, 7 losses, but the Heretics are fallen tremendously. So they definitely need this win to stay in that top 8 category. And of course, if the playoffs ended today, that's what they need, is a win this weekend. And I mean, they're not finished, I believe, because they still got the Los Angeles Thieves. I believe that is definitely a very winnable series right there for them. So this is 2 series that they need to win back-to-back 3-0. And I think they could do it against the Thieves. And for maybe the Vegas Legion, maybe a 3-1 series victory for the Miami Heretics. But right now, you're looking at the Legion versus the Heretics series as my second go-to match this weekend. And then definitely, right now, guys, the New York Subliners taking on the Boston Breach Friday, February 23rd at 3 p.m. Eastern. Guys, look, the Boston Breach is a very talented team. They really are. And the New York Subliners, they're kind of that mid-tier team. They're not as great as they once was last season. But hey, this is definitely a matchup to look out forward to. because can the Subliners hold up momentum, stay in that top 4, and win a lot of their series, or can Boston Breach overcome the powerfulness of the New York Subliners and finally get their shit together and start winning some matches, because they're just 3 games away from 500. And if they start winning and the Vegas Legion starts losing, and especially the Gorillas, they could be in that playoff category if the season ended today. So, but I'm taking the Subliners in a 3-2 fashion right here. I think Boston kind of figures things out, but still at the same time can't get over that hump too much, because a lot of their series has come down to a 3-2 loss. And if they could just get over that hump, I think the Boston Breach can definitely be a team to reckon with later in the season. And of course, like you said, the CDL points are updated right now. And of course, your top 4 is Ultra, FaZe, Optic, and the New York Subliners. So guys, who are you rooting for this weekend in the Call of Duty League Major 2 online qualifiers? Me personally, I'm rooting for FaZe, as always, to win their matches and totally dominate the scene. But we all know that Toronto Ultra has got the upper advantage in map win-loss ratio, CDL points, just everything. But if FaZe can just get that hard point right, I think they'll start winning a lot more series. And next week is definitely going to be the challenge, because they got the Rocker and the Toronto Ultra all next weekend. And it's definitely going to be a must-see weekend if you are an Atlanta FaZe fan. But more on that next weekend right there, guys. But let's switch gears on over to the Atlanta Falcons side of things. So, and to start off, we got some quick updates with the Atlanta Falcons running back Cordalle Patterson officially becoming a free agent right now at the time of this recording, February 19th at 6:28 p.m. because his contract was voided today by the Atlanta Falcons, and a decision was solely up to special teams coordinator Marquise Williams. Patterson would still be in Atlanta, and I totally agree with that. But Patterson did kind of express a lot of upset feelings this past season by not being utilized too much. Now, that is coming from Arthur Smith not, utilizing his top talent very well. And this is a whole new regime, no whole new offense, whole new defense, everything. But with the offensive side of things, I think that Zac Robinson can utilize a lot of these star-studded talents to their abilities. And that leads me into my next segment right here of talking about Zac Robinson promises for top playmakers. So this is coming from SportsIllustrated.com, the Falcon Report. Of course, all these websites will be linked down in the description below for you guys to check those out. The article does state Falcons Zac Robinson promises touches for top playmakers. After the Atlanta Falcons offense under Arthur Smith was criticized last season for not keeping their playmakers involved, new offensive coordinator Zac Robinson promising not to make the same mistake. And I quote, "A big criticism for the Atlanta Falcons offense under Arthur Smith this past season was the inability to consistently get his biggest playmakers involved, especially in the red zone, where the limited touches for former first-round pick like Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts were heavily criticized. However, now under new head coach Raheem Morris, who brought in Zac Robinson as his play caller, the early indications seem to indicate that they won't have the same issue." And I quote, "Certainly, I think Kyle as a tight end and Bijan as a back, those guys are going to get a lot of their touches. How they get their touches," Robinson said, "I view those guys as a versatile, but those guys can play just tight end. Those guys can play just back. We'll have the formation versatility to move them all over and try to get the most out of what they do. But those guys are very special players and just excited to get going with them." Pitts, the former number 4th overall NFL pick, was one of the biggest mysteries or underperformers during Smith's tenure. After making a name for himself at the University of Florida as his explosive receiving tight end in college, Pitt's rookie season saw him find success immediately, totaling over 1,000 yards. However, he never seemed to refine that same form in the 2 years following that. Granted, injuries did play a part for Pitts. Lack of production as he played in just 10 games in 2022 before a torn MCL. But even when he was healthy, like this past season, he totally did not perform well, just only getting 667 yards and 3 touchdowns on 53 receptions. Was that because of usage, or was that what made Pitt successful in college not translated into the NFL? Those are 2 questions Robinson will have to answer. As for Robinson, his selection by the Falcons was surprising last year in the NFL draft, considering they already had a 1,000-yard rusher on the roster in Tyler Algier. Yet, while Robinson's rookie year didn't end with him winning the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year, as many predicted, he did show what made him special in college. And that's true. It really is. So, utilizing these top 2 talents, Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, is definitely going to be a must in this year's NFL season, the 2024-25 season. And if you get those guys involved with the right quarterback and the right just system in general, I think this is going to be a playoff caliber team. But then that will lead to the defense having to be a top 10. So we'll have to wait and see, but right now it does look like Zac Robinson, the new offensive coordinator, is promising touches, and that is very exciting and promising to hear. But of course, we'll have to wait and see when the season starts in early September. So speaking of success for the offense, the Falcons general manager Terry Feont was on NFL Live just earlier today at the time of this recording on February 19th, 2024 at 6:33 p.m. He was asked about the quarterback situation for the Atlanta Falcons. And guys, he's speaking the truth right here. So this is coming from Michael Baca, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. But the arrival of head coach Raheem Morris doesn't figure to be the only sign of change in Atlanta this upcoming season. Terry Feont is gearing up for the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine and the official start of free agency on March 13th. During an appearance on the NFL Report last week, the Falcons general manager said the club will be keying in on the quarterback position during the 2024 season. The only remaining question is what role Atlanta takes to make that potential upgrade. And I quote, "That's a top priority for us this offseason, and it's exciting," Feont told NFL Network Steve Weiss and James Palmer. Again, not only people that have been in the building, but people outside of the building, from Raheem Morris, an offensive coordinator, Zac Robinson, quarterbacks coach TJ Yates, assistant coach Ken Zentve, assistant quarterbacks coach DJ Williams. We have a lot of really smart people in the building, and we're going to spend a lot of time together, make sure we attack that the right way. We're not going to close any doors, be it trades, free agency, or the draft. We will make sure we keep an open mind there, and we're going to attack it and make sure we get it right. He is not lying when he says that. You definitely got to attack this position, and you got to attack it well. Because there is too much talent on this Atlanta Falcons roster via the running back position, receiving core, just the entire offense and defense to, help the offense get back on the field, to be wasted this year. It really is. And Terry Feont, Raheem Morris, and Zac Robinson, this whole coaching staff knows that this is too much talent to be wasted. And I believe we're just a quarterback away and a head coach that knows how to head coach. And Raheem Morris said it himself best during his introductory press conference that he wants to be the dumbest person in the room. He wants to collaborate and try to figure out everything with everybody else. He don't want to solely be independent and try to be the smartest person in the room. He wants to be collaborative and he wants to help out wherever he can, but he knows his duties is the head coaching position. He's going to let his OC, Zac Robinson, do his job. He's not going to interfere with it. He's not going to interfere with the defense coordinator or special teams. He's going to interfere only in the head coaching position because that's what he is hired for. Again, I think this is going to be a very successful season, but we have to wait and see because the season is still, like 7 months away right now. 7-8 months away, and it's going to be a long off season. But of course, your boy here, Morgan Man, is going to be at that training camp no matter what. And that'll be thanks to Belly Up Sports. Hopefully this year we will be getting into the media pass side of things. Definitely will be updating you guys more on that, of course, when that time does arrive for training camp. But as of right now, all we got is these articles to read, the podcast to listen to right now. Make sure you are subscribing and downloading and staying up to date every single Friday. And that's really about it right now, guys. Again, free agency starts on March 13th, basically the beginning of the brand new league year. And yeah, we'll just have to go from there. But guys, that is all the time I have for today. I sure hope you did enjoy. And if you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from. Guys, I am currently updating everything right now when it comes to the merch for Morgan Man Sports. Definitely looking into getting or hiring someone, I should say, to graphic design a lot of t-shirts for me and put it on bonfires. That way you guys can support the show wherever you are listening from. Canada, New Zealand, California, wherever it is, you can support Morgan Man Sports at bonfire.com/Morgan Man Sports. Of course, that merch website will be down in the description below, you guys to check that out. But again, guys, hope you all enjoyed, and I, Morgan, will catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.